Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Today I'm gonna give you a little update on my journaling system. As this spread handily says, got a system update, made a few little changes to the way I use my notebooks and how many notebooks I use. But before I get into that, a couple of housekeeping notices, which I seem to have at the start of like every video, but anyway. Number one, thank you so much for 2,000 subscribers. I noticed that the other day and was mind blown. Like, I still can't believe that anybody wants to watch these videos except like me and maybe my immediate friends and family. So the fact that there are 2,000 of you here is just like mind blowing to me. So thank you very much. Second of all, also thank you for being so kind and understanding about the fact I skipped a video last week. I know like I shouldn't have to justify myself and that I'm allowed to take a week off, but it was the first time I'd done so and I just felt like a bit weird about it. But yeah, basically last week, the week before last was extremely busy at my day job and I just didn't have the energy to make a video by the time it got to the weekend. Like, I'm pretty sure that all I did that weekend was sleep and play Animal Crossing, which was a great time, I'm not gonna lie. But I did miss making a video. Like, I really, really enjoy making these. I guess it's a chance for me to just ramble about one of my special interests for like 15 to 35 minutes at a time. So yeah, I really wanted to get back to making a video this weekend for my own like personal joy reasons. Even though, if I'm being honest, like my work was not any less busy last week. It was still quite overwhelming, but I do feel like I have more energy this weekend. So here I am, filming a video. Ooh, final thing actually to mention before I talk about the actual journals is I have made a change to like the lighting of these. Basically before I was just using natural lighting because we actually had it, but now it's late October in the UK, so natural lighting, I don't know her, she's gone. So I invested in like a little ring light thing, so hopefully it looks okay. Please let me know if it doesn't. I don't really know what I'll do about it if it doesn't because I can't make the sun come out. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have that until possibly April, but I don't really mind that. I'm not a summer person. I quite like staying indoors, so autumn, winter's a good time for me. Anyway, yeah, enough preamble. Let's talk about what I've changed about my journal system. First thing to point out is something very crucial has not changed, and that is that I'm still using the Hobonichi Cousin for most things. I love it. Like, it is my soulmate in planner form, if that's even a thing. Like, I will probably never ditch this. Now I've said that, you watch me switch between planners next year or something. Anyway, as far as I'm aware, I can't think of any reason why I would stop using this. I love it, and yeah. What I have changed slightly is how I use it. So previously, and I'm gonna flick back to show this. Oh, by the way, this was my October cover, and I just always love the Twilight references every October. If you know, you know. If you don't know, I was gonna say you should go and watch the Twilight movies. I don't know if you should, because like they're just not very good objectively, but they're a lot of fun. So maybe consider it. Anyway, back to the video topic and less about Bella Swan Depression Month. Here we go. You'll see that for most of the time in like August, September, I was using this pretty consistently as gratitude log on the left and daily journaling on the right. And this did work for me for a little while, but it started to not work so well for a few reasons. Number one is I kind of got a bit bored of just doing the same thing every day, which is like complete opposite to how I usually am in life. Usually I love me some routine. I love keeping things the same. For some reason, this I did just get bored with. And I felt kind of like I wanted to experiment more, you know? I wanted to be a bit more creative in here. And you see, actually, in my September flip through that I did, like I did start to experiment a bit in September. Like here, I didn't include the gratitude because I was having a bad day. I didn't feel too grateful about anything. And then again, here I just kind of backfilled the daily journaling portion. But yeah, I really realized in October when I tried to like get back into the consistent routine of the gratitude daily journaling spreads that they just weren't sparking that much joy for me anymore. And I felt like doing things a little bit differently. So yeah, problem number 1, boredom. Problem number 2 was specifically with the daily journaling. Now, I don't know how to say this without it coming across as like weirdly ungrateful, but I'm just going to say it and hope it comes out well. Basically, I love doing YouTube, as I've said, really enjoy making videos, really love talking about journals. One thing though that was an unexpected downside of it is I felt myself holding back in the journaling because obviously not everybody wants everything about their life to be on YouTube. And there were things happening in my life that I didn't really want to put on the internet, either for my own privacy or for the privacy of like other people. So yeah, I felt myself really having to hold back in the daily journaling, and I don't like doing that. Like, I like being authentic in my journal spreads. So there was a bit of like cognitive dissonance going on of like, oh, I want to be authentic, but I feel like I can't. And it got a little bit weird, which is perhaps why I kept like not filling this out and then having to backfill it. I mean, here I obviously did fill it out, but in other sections, I did have to backfill things, like here. And I think part of it was I didn't always want to write what had happened because I didn't want it to end up online. And like, I know in theory I could have just like skipped pages on YouTube and just like not showed a particular spread. But my fear with that is that I'll like forget and then accidentally show something incredibly private. So yeah, basically I was starting to get a bit uncomfy with keeping all my daily journaling in here. And issue number 3 was just kind of space for daily journaling. Sometimes I again found myself holding back because with the dated planners, you only have 1 page per day, right? And sometimes I'd want to write a bit more than that, but then I'd be like, oh, but that means what if I want to write like loads tomorrow, but I've already got onto that page, and what if I run out of room? So like there was a weird thing going on there with me holding back so that I didn't exceed my page limit, basically. And I know that in theory I could have just ignored the dates here and just written when I wanted to and not written when I didn't want to, and it probably would have like evened out, but I really like following the rules. One of my autistic traits, love me some rules, feel incredibly uncomfortable if I break the rules, so I just didn't feel able to like ignore the dates, if that makes sense. So yeah, those were the problems I was having with the Cousin daily pages. How did I solve these problems, I hear you ask? Well, to answer that question, I'm gonna have to pull out a different book. Give me 1 second. Ta-da! Here it is. Through the magic of editing, it took me 1 second to do that and not the 3 minutes of fumbling that it actually took. Anyway, I decided that the best thing for me to do would be to get a separate notebook for daily journaling. And this is a notebook that I'm not going to be showing on YouTube. Solves the problem of privacy. Like, I can just write whatever I want without fearing who's going to see it. It's also an undated book, so it gets rid of that whole, oh, I'm going to run out of space feeling. It's a Stalogy A5 notebook. I think it's square grid. Let me double check. Yeah, square grid. And yeah, I'm just using it as a long form daily journal where I can rant and ramble to my heart's content about whatever I want without fear or anxiety. So that's working really well for me. I also got this beautiful cover for it. I saw someone on Discord had got the pencil board of this Animal Crossing pattern, and I was like, oh, now I wonder if they still sell the A5 cover for that, because that would work beautifully on my daily journal. Unfortunately, I found that Hobonichi themselves don't sell this anymore. At least I don't think they do. I couldn't find it on the website, and I couldn't find it in any of the usual like UK Hobonichi stockists. But I did find it on eBay. Somebody had one still in the packaging, never even opened, that they were selling for a pretty reasonable price actually. So I snapped it up. I was like, I need this in my life. Animal Crossing is my life for large chunks of the year until I get burned out on it, and then I take a break, and then I go back to it and it becomes my life again. Anyway, I love this cover. I also love that it has some of my actual villagers on it. Like, I have Filbert, I have Dom, and I have Marshall in my current island. So I was like, the gang's hanging out on this cover. I've got to buy it. So buy it I did, and I love it. So yeah, got myself an A5 Stalogy and a beautiful A5 Animal Crossing cover for this just daily long form journal. I don't think you're going to see this again because, as I say, I'm not showing the journal on YouTube. That defeats the purpose of it. So yeah, take in this beautiful cover while you still can. I think that explains that side of it. So I'm going to move back, I think, to the Hobonichi to explain the next change I made. So after I decided I wasn't going to use the Cousin to daily journal anymore, I was kind of left with the question of, what am I going to use it for? The answer is kind of a three-parter. One is I am still going to use it to track things I'm grateful for, but just in a slightly different way. I decided to have entire pages devoted to it instead of like a little sidebar every single day. I think the issue with doing it every single day for me was it got quite repetitive. Like, I'm grateful for the same things most days. And I was like, is it really helping me that much to write exactly the same thing every day? I decided if I have like a page for it every few days or every week or so, that's probably going to end up being a bit less repetitive and maybe more helpful for me. And I also realized that gratitude logs in themselves are kind of a form of daily journaling, because the thing I'm grateful for that day is kind of reflective of what I was doing that day. So for example, on the 16th, so a couple of Mondays ago now, I specifically mentioned that I was grateful for pad thai from this restaurant nearby, which will help me remember that on that day I ordered takeout from that particular restaurant. So yeah, it's kind of like a journaling practice in itself, because it helps me remember all the fun stuff I did that day. Anyway, gratitude, that's still happening in here. I think I've got another couple of gratitude pages since this one, so it's something I am still keeping up with consistently. Another thing I'll be using this for is still daily journaling when something really fun and notable happens. I still want to keep a record of that in this book. So here I've got a little tiny journaling portion here about the fact that on this day, me and one of my good friends went to see a historian that I really like give a talk. And I kind of wrote a little journaly bit about it, and then the rest of it is like commonplacing notes about it. Spoiler alert for the third thing I'm using it for, but anyway. Yeah, so I am still going to do a bit of daily journaling in here, but more of the surface level, like this is what happened that day, as opposed to like, here's my deepest thoughts and emotions. So one thing I've decided to do, actually, since, if I can skip forward and find an example, is on the days, here we go, on the days when I do a little bit of daily journaling, I'm going to have this little today header inspired by the Coffee Monsters Co., who does this for her to-do lists, but I'm going to do it for like my little journaling portions. I'm going to have that today heading. I'm doing my own like version of it right now, but I've actually ordered some stickers from her shop that is Helen's handwriting saying today. So excited for that to arrive, because I'm not always the biggest fan of my own lettering, let's be real. Yeah, there's another one here. So like, I'm gonna switch up where on the page it is as well. Sometimes this sidebar is helpful for it. Sometimes I'm putting it at the top of the page. Some days, this hasn't happened yet, but some days I might have like a whole day of daily journaling if something particularly big happens. We'll see. But yeah, point of that ramble is I am still gonna do a bit of daily journaling in here. And the final thing I'll be doing in here, which I kind of inadvertently revealed back there, is I am actually going to switch to using these pages as my commonplace book. So I did, and still do, have this separate notebook that I was using as a commonplace book. I'm not getting rid of this, I'm going to keep it, but I kind of figured that it would be too much for me to try to fill my new Stalogy daily journal, plus a Hobonichi Cousin daily pages set with something, and then a separate commonplace book. Like, I honestly don't know what I would put in 3 sets of A5 pages. So I decided to just consolidate it into 2, basically. And as I say, have the Stalogy for daily journaling and just put the commonplacing in here. And I think it'll be a nice way of seeing specifically what I was interested in at specific points in time. Because like sometimes I did remember to date this separate book, but not always. And I think it would be nice to look back and be like, oh, okay, so in October of 2023, I was writing about Midnights, because it had been out for a year. And then I was writing about 1989 Taylor's version. It was a very Taylor Swift heavy month back in October 2023. Like, I'll be able to look back and know that. So yeah, I am really enjoying using this as a commonplace book so far. Something about it is super satisfying, just being able to go every day and be like, I'm going to write down the random information I found today. And that's differed from quotes here that I'd found on Tumblr to on a different day, which is actually backwards. I had commonplace some articles, both about history actually. One about Stonehenge and the fact that the altar stone is not from Wales, which everybody always thought it was. It might actually be from Scotland or the north of England. And like, can you imagine these prehistoric people dragging this ginormous stone all the way down from Scotland to Wiltshire? Like, that is phenomenal. Kudos to them to like do that without having cars and vans and stuff. Like, mad. Anyway, yeah, commonplace some history articles, and also had, as I say, my various Taylor Swift commonplace musings. So I've just been really enjoying using this, to be honest. It's been a really fun time having every single page be slightly different now. I think the commonplacing element really breaks up that repetitiveness that I was talking about before, because truly I write about something different every day. Well, okay, admittedly, I write about Taylor Swift quite a lot of days, but other than that, there's a lot of variety. Also, just want to flag this entry, because I know she watches. My sister, I'd written on her birthday about how proud I am of her and how much I love her. So if you're watching, Connie, shout out to you. All right, so that's how I'm using this as the commonplace book. As for what I actually do with this book, as I say, I am going to keep it. My thinking is, if 1 month I like run out of commonplace pages before we get to the end of the month, because like I've tried to do a little bit every day, but there have also been times where I've written a lot on one day and covered multiple days. Like this particular article ended up being like 2.5 pages. So yeah, if I end up running out of room in a particular month, I'll just kind of have this as an overflow book and add whatever entries I want in here. If that doesn't end up happening and I don't end up using this as an overflow book, what I'll probably do is, once I've finished the Stalogy, I'll make this my next like private journal and just fill the rest of it with that. Basically, I want to find a way to use this up because I want to get out of the habit of only half using notebooks and just buying new ones for everything all the time. I want to make sure that eventually I do finish this in some capacity. And I'm sure I will. Even if I don't overflow commonplace, I'll definitely fill that Stalogy daily journal and end up using this in that way. So yeah, that is the commonplacing segment. Bye-bye to this book for now, / kind of not really, because I might still keep using it. And then if I don't, I'll use it eventually. That was very long-winded. Hello to the Hobonichi Cousin, being commonplace book, gratitude log, occasional daily journal, and of course in my weekly spreads, it is still also a daily journal because I memory keep in here. By the way, Halloween spread, loving this. Oh, I decided to do it like the week before Halloween because next week I look at this and to me it's November. Like, it's past Halloween. So this page couldn't be a Halloween spread. So this page had to be. I'm a big fan of this. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I'll show you this in the flip through next weekend. Let's talk about the last little change / addition I made to my little journaling lineup. And I have alluded to this in a previous video, but I also started a separate reading journal. I have not really been using it that much because I'm in a bit of a reading slump right now. I haven't actually finished a book since August, which is, for me, that's ridiculous. Like, I'm usually such a big reader. I don't know what it is. I don't know why I haven't been able to get into a book. I did read part of Matrix by Lauren Groff, but then I just wasn't vibing with it, so I stopped. And now it's been like a month since I stopped Matrix, I think, or almost, and I still haven't picked up another book. So yeah, eventually I'll be using this as a reading journal when I can bring myself to read again. When I do start using this, I'll be using it both to write my reviews once I've finished a book and also to take notes while I'm reading. Let me just get this out and I'll show you an example. Let's move this out the way. I've got too many journals here right now. Let's sort this out. All right, there's more space. I feel more comfortable. Let's talk about this journal. So I'm going to use it, as I say, to record my like reviews of books, but I also want to use it to keep notes as I'm reading because I'm not always the quickest reader. It can take me anywhere from like a few weeks to a couple of months to read a book, depending on its length. And I found that when it came to writing the review, after the end of like a particularly long reading process, I'd forgotten a lot of what I thought about the book. So I've decided I'll take notes as I go. After each time I finish reading, if I've got like a particular thought I want to make sure I remember, I'll write it down. And this kind of explains as well why I wanted a separate notebook for this, because if I'd have done this, say, in the commonplace book, and like written down my thoughts on each day when I'd read the book, those notes would have been split across like many different pages with other entries in between them. It would have been a bit of a mess, basically. So having a separate book means I can just keep the notes as I go. Nothing else is going to interrupt the flow of that. No commonplacing, no journaling. It's just the book notes until I'm done. And then it's the review. And then on to the next one. Anyway, yeah, once I've started reading again, I'll show more of this. I'll maybe include it in monthly flip through videos at the end, so that like if you don't care about reading, you can just skip that bit. And if you do, you can keep watching. But yeah, I'm excited for this. I will say also, I did backfill this with some of my favourite books that I've read this year so far. And if anybody wants me to do like a full video chatting about that, I happily will. So let me know in the comments if that's something you'd be interested in. All right, that is everything I had to update you on. To give a little summary at the end, Hobonichi Cousin is now going to be mostly commonplacing with gratitude logs and some occasional daily journaling. The old commonplace book is staying in the wings as like an overflow commonplace book or a daily journal, depending on what I decide to use it for. I've got this new A5 daily journal that will be private and not shared on YouTube. And of course, at the end, got my reading journal. So yeah, slightly bigger stack of notebooks, but in my defense, I'm only using 3 of them. That's not actually that much better than 4, is it? Anyway, moving on. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope it was interesting. I hope it was fun. Hope I didn't ramble on for too long. I feel like I got slightly out of practice of making videos and this was probably just chaos. So sorry if it was. I hope you all have great weeks. Let me know in the comments if you have thoughts on any of my new setups. Also let me know in the comments if A, you're a Swiftie, and B, you loved 1989 Taylor's version as much as I did, which is a lot, spoiler alert. Say Don't Go, and Is It Over Now? Should never have been left in the vault, in my opinion. If you're not a Swiftie, fair enough. Ignore that part. But yeah, I'll see you all next weekend in my next video, which should be like an October flip through of The Cousin. Until then, best wishes to you all. Thank you for watching. Forever grateful for you, and have a great weekend/week.